All my audience, today I want to be talking to you about the manifestation magic of upsides and downsides. So, as you probably understand by now in your life, if you have any experience with this thing that we are right now experiencing, is that in your life there are upsides and downsides to everything that you do. And the manifestation magic comes to picture when we start to really see that usually downsides come to the surface only later when you have been really into something. For example, if you are going to be really into something like, for example, playing the guitar, probably the downsides you will see only, down the years, And if you are really into watching YouTube videos, the downsides you will be seeing really just down the years. It's many times in this way that you smoke cigarettes and you see the downsides, in like 10 years. You're gonna get a cancer like 20 years, maybe 30 years. And at that point, the downsides, they trump over or they win over the good sides or the upsides. So at the moment I want to make you really understand, I'm not a Buddha, but I'm going to just say to you that if you deem that this thing is so amazing and there's no downsides to this, of course there are. Of course there are. But you have to also understand the fact that downsides and upsides are related to time, They increase and they decrease, kind of like the pedals on a bike when you go really fast. They increase and decrease, and so at some point, you might deem that smoking weed is the best thing ever. Then few years go by and you're kind of like, maybe smoking weed is not the best thing ever. You start to see the downsides of it. And that's called experience. And some people and some guys might be telling you from their own experience, for example, that hey man, I really don't think that you should get into this because the downsides are very bad. For example, in investing, or maybe gambling, maybe the same thing, I don't know. The downsides are very bad, you shouldn't get into this. And you understand that if you, for example, watch a lot of documentaries on YouTube and you watch people, do all kinds of stupid things with their lives, and through that you kind of see that you don't really experience the downsides, you just kind of see that, maybe becoming a skydiver is not such a good idea when you see somebody, smash to the ground like that and fucking die instantly, Maybe it's not such a good idea to become that kind of a person. But then there's the magic manifestation of paying for that price, of paying the price for that thing to be in your life. For example, if you want to own your own home, you don't want to rent. There's going to be upsides and downsides to that. But the metaphysical truth over here, if you're gonna pay the price for any behavior, for example, I'm going to pay the price to wear these fucking hats. There's a price to be paid with every product, but then there's another price to be paid that is not related to money. If you end up buying the World of Warcraft, like the game, you're gonna be paying a bit more, like higher price maybe for that than you're ever going to understand when you pay the 30 euros or whatever for that game. You're going to be paying a huge, you're going to pay big time for that game. So I just want you to understand the real price of things. It's not the price tag that is the real price of things. There are hidden costs, and this is not about money. Yeah. So think about it. If you really are trying to achieve happiness, you have to understand that if there's upsides and downsides related to it, it won't make you happy. That's just the truth. And think about the internet. I want you to list for me, like in the comments below, you can of course invent some things that you want to talk about, and you have experience maybe owning pets, for example, like owning a dog probably has a lot of upsides to it and probably a lot of downsides. You know, you end up getting shit everywhere, you know, on your in your home, and you might, you know, piss off some people, you know, by your dog barking, and it might be a good, you know, companion and that kind of stuff. You can go over these things, and people have this fantasy and fantasizing about the upsides and not really seeing the downsides. For example, I want to ask you a question. When the army recruits like new soldiers, for example in Americas, do these soldiers usually have like fantasies or like good ideas or like good fantasies about like going to the war? And then when they come back and they have PTSD, maybe do they kind of, you know, realize that there's actually quite a big downside to going to war? And does that kind of change their behavior? I feel that the difference between the people that are going to like stay in the fantasizing level and those people that are going to just, you know, go out there and pay the price and do it, then the difference is just that they are gonna pay the price. And you know about, you know, for example, that war, it's a big price to pay for some of these people. They pay with their lives, and yeah, that's a steep price to be paid. But just, you know, think about these questions, and the next time you kind of like look at somebody and you kind of like are so, you know, like inspired and you just want that person's life, just think about it, you know. You know all the downsides and you know all the upsides of your own life, but you don't know the downsides and upsides of the other person's life, you know. You might have experience on some of that stuff, but it's nowhere near the reality of what it is. So this is kind of the ultimate secret if you want to like let go of your jealousy for other people. Just realize that you don't know the upsides and downsides. I have been fat in my life, and I can say that what were the upsides of being fat? Well, maybe being able to maybe enjoy food more than nowadays. You know, I don't really enjoy food. But then again, the downsides at some point, you know, they became so bad that I decided that I'm not ever going to be fat anymore. And yeah, you see the result over here. I'm pretty a different guy. And I'm actually from Finland, if you like don't know that. And each country also has its upsides and downsides, so you shouldn't like fantasize that, you know, this country is like the wonderland and you should come over. You know, it's like it's the same everywhere, you know. Africa even, you know, has its upsides. You know, every freaking country, you know, has its upsides and downsides. So if you tie your happiness, you know, to this person that has upsides and downsides, if you tie your happiness to this, you know, thing, you know, money, for example, money has its upsides and its downsides, like physically, you know, like just look at it, you know, it has its upsides and its downsides. So maybe you should consider this, and you might kind of learn about stuff, you know, through reading, which also has its upsides and downsides. Reading might make you, for example, because I have a lot of experience that it might make you feel very, you know, this kind of unsatisfactoriness with other human beings because they don't read enough, and you feel that their minds are so boring. There's not enough, you know, to talk about with them because they don't read anything. Fuck, man. You just want to talk about how this writer said that line, and then you can't get anything back from them because they just browse their fucking Facebook all day. You know, which also has upsides and downsides to it, like everything else. So when you decide, like, what do you base your decision on if you don't have any experience with everything? Well, you're gonna experiment and you're gonna listen and you're gonna learn, you know? Understand that, and maybe your life will become so very rad. Thanks for watching this video.